back for another episode in season three's TBI Uncovered, the platform that allows traumatic brain survivors, those with brain injuries, brain conditions, shock survivors, gunshot survivors, AVM survivors, survivors of various brain conditions, survivors alike, the wheelchair and disability community, caregivers, medical professionals, organizations, and anyone such with brain injuries to share the stories and provide tips, plus resources, and bring awareness to those impacted. Oh my God, it's a mouthful. So on today's episode, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. You guys don't understand. I'm so excited. This episode today for me is like none other. All my episodes are great, but this one is very near dear to me. So my guest today starts in a profession that's very near and dear to my heart. She's a licensed and certified SLP. That's right. She's a speech language pathologist, or what I like to call SLPpreneur, with digital products and resources galore, which we'll dive into a little later. So help me welcome another medical professional changing the world, Dana Bryant. Hello, Dana.
Hey, what an amazing intro. I never heard you call it as a SLpreneur.
Yeah, it's so cool. I got it from I interviewed a young lady who was an occupational therapist, and she called herself OTpreneur. So I'm like, okay, it's
Yay,
OTpreneur. So I'm
it
gonna throw my
works.
thing. It does work.
It
So
works. It works.
it definitely does. Well, welcome to season three, my cover. Thank you again for agreeing to this interview. I'm so excited. Like I said, it's near this my heart. I love what you do. I'm very passionate about it. I love it, love it. And so I am just so honored to have you as a guest on my show today. So
Yeah, I'm
how's your day?
honored to be
I'm
here.
sorry, I'm
Thank you.
sorry. Thank you. How's your day been so far? I'm sure busy.
Pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah, I did work today, but I'm off. I'm ready for the weekend. So this is kind of kicking off my weekend.
Yay. So we're gonna get started and just begin to introduce yourself for those who don't know you and share how your speech therapy journey began.
Yeah, so my name is Dana M. Bryant, as you can see, and I've been a speech pathologist for about 10 years. I finished grad school in 2013, and my specialty area is neuro, so neuro rehabilitation. So I help individuals who have had brain injuries, strokes, any type of neurological disorders, neurodegenerative disorders. I'm your girl when it comes to speech therapy. And yeah, I've always been interested in the brain ever since I was a little girl. I had a grandmother who unfortunately was diagnosed with an inoperable brain tumor, and she passed away. And that's what got me really excited about learning about the brain. And the older I got, I just knew I would be in the helping profession. I just didn't know in what area. And this seemed like the perfect fit because I can communicate, I can help people, I can learn about all the new updated stuff of neuroscience. So it's like a perfect fit for me.
Yes, it definitely is. I just like I said, I love it. I love that you're so passionate about it. And I guess you kind of answered the question already. I have a little later on how you inspired you to do it. And so for those who don't know what speech therapy entails, get to let them know what it all entails, like all the ins and outs of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know the term speech therapy seems very specific. It really is. And sometimes I feel like we should change our title because we're so much more than just speech now. But we help people with speech, language, cognition, and swallowing. So
Okay.
those are our big areas. Speech and language, of course, can be grouped in just said communication. So you got communication, you have also the swallowing part, and then also the cognition part. So those are our three main lanes, I like to call them.
I never heard it broken down that way, but I guess thinking back on my journey, I can relate to what you're saying. It is branched off in different parts. So I'm thinking back on now, like when my journey began. So wow, I didn't know it was like that much in depth. So thank you for putting it like that.
Yeah, yeah, no problem.
When you were in college, so were there other people of color in your classes, or were you like the minority in the speech therapy space in those classes?
So the field of speech language pathology is 93% white.
Okay.
So it's not a lot of people of color in the field already to start with. So that's going to be represented in the graduate programs as well. So I was the only person of color in my cohort. I feel like that's typical at a predominantly white institution. But of course, you have HBCUs like Howard and Hampton and places like that. That's in the area where I live now, and they're HBCU, so they are going to be predominantly Black programs. But I was the only one in my program.
And how was that for you? Was it kind of like awkward? Was it kind of like you felt comfortable?
I would say I was used to it because I went to a PWI, a predominantly white institution for undergraduate. So
Okay.
I was kind of used to being the only one at that point. But I will say it can get awkward
Mm-hmm.
when you're studying certain classes or certain topics and you feel like um, you are you have to speak up or be the spokesperson for your race. Like for
Mm-hmm.
example, if we were studying language, um, and they started teaching about African American vernacular English, formerly known as Ebonics. It's like, okay, this is awkward. Clearly, I'm the only Black person in here. Or if they started talking about uh, different low SES status, disenfranchised, groups, things like that, then you're like, okay, this is kind of awkward.
Yeah.
But, I welcome the opportunity to spread more awareness to other
Absolutely.
people so they can know this is a career. Like you can help people, you can make money, you can have fun, you can make a difference. And you don't have to just fall into those traditional, healthcare umbrellas like nursing, or doctors or another kind of therapist. Like there's other things for you if you're still interested in healthcare.
Yes, it is, and it's really interesting that you said that because I know when I was in and this is kind of a little different. But I remember when I was at rehabilitation, I went to a facility that was like 200 miles away from my family, and it was predominantly white people, and I was only African American, only female first of all, only female on the floor, only black woman on the floor, and
Mhm.
so. And I'm like, I guess I was kind of used to it by then too, because at that time I had been to maybe that's like my third place I had been to already. So it's kind of like semi used to it. Now what's awkward, feeling like I'm on the black woman, on the black girl, like, okay. And so it was very kind of awkward at first, like, but then I felt like, okay, I could pay the wave and pay the way for somebody else in a sense. And I say the same
Mhm.
thing to you. You're paving the way for other people of color who want to do it. So they see your face and like, oh, I can do it too. So I
Yeah,
love it.
absolutely. Now let me ask you, did you have therapists of color?
No,
Never
and
in your journey?
never, no,
Okay. Yeah.
no.
So
But
never
it's
met a
not.
black
No. But it's an honor to even do talk to someone of color that's, they kind of live like me. So it's kind of like, it's refreshing. Now, I love the therapists I had. They're wonderful therapists. So, they're wonderful therapists. And they helped me a whole lot. I'm so thankful for them. But at the same time, you do want to see somebody that looks like you. So,
Mhm.
one of those things.
Yeah, I actually wrote a blog post a couple months ago why we need more Black
Mm-hmm.
allied health therapists, and it's not to say that white SLPs are not fantastic. They
Oh,
are. There's
people are.
phenomenal
Oh,
out there, but
oh,
I
yeah.
do think that it means something to have options. Number one, and then number two, to have people that you feel like can relate to you on certain issues or topics,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be hair, care, whether it be music or just things that they may be more familiar with than people who
Mm-hmm.
are not in your demographic. And so I think that ties in really nicely to some of the things we'll talk about in a second, which is bringing in things that matter to the patient. And if you
Yes.
don't know what matters to the patient, or you're unfamiliar, then it may take you longer to create a functional and person-centered activity.
Absolutely. I'm glad you're rocking through. We're going down to like real soon, like you said. So, and that's very vital, which is very important what you said. I agree with you wholeheartedly. And so, what inspired you to do speech therapy in a different, non traditional way?
Yeah, so for a few years, I was getting burnt out with being an SLP. I was, it just, I felt like I wasn't challenged. I felt
Mhm.
like there was a creative side to me that I wasn't being able to let shine. And I just knew in my gut like there was something better. And I did some research, and there was like we have traditionally been under the medical model. The medical model, a lot of healthcare professionals are under it, which basically says we know what's best for you. You know, like this is the formula, so you just do it this way and you'll get better, right? Well, now we're under a more person-centered care model, and that says, you know what? I'm not your teacher. I'm your teammate, right? We're going to work together on things that you want to get better on, what you say matters, you know. And so thank God I kind of, you know, was able to be exposed to this, because then when I started creating more functional and person-centered therapy activities, I started seeing my career again, and I felt like my
Mhm.
patients were actually getting better and enjoying SLP services more when I brought more functional person-centered activities to the table.
So you can see their energy arising, their excitement for it being more, I guess, lively. I guess.
Yeah,
What is
because
the difference?
I mean, because I don't know about your rehab settings that you were in, but I know in a lot of places I work, people didn't like to see speech therapy come in. Like they were excited to do PT, you know, get up and move around, exercise. They were
Yeah.
pumped about OT, but then it was like, like each there, like I don't really want to. Like, do I have to? And I would always be like, why don't SLPs get the same energy, respect, you
Mhm.
know, as our colleagues, PT and OT. And when I really took a step back and looked, I was like, I wouldn't want to come with me either. You know, like I don't want to do worksheets. I don't want to do board games and play cards and do things that feel like puzzles and kiddie stuff. Like I'm trying to get back to being
Mhm.
myself or some
Yeah.
semblance of myself, and what are you going to do to help me get there?
Yeah.
And so when I started looking at it like that, like I said, my whole therapy style changed.
See, I was a nerd, so I love puzzles. I love all the word stuff. I love words. I do. So I was a nerd. So I didn't mind going to speech therapy. And actually, my speech therapist, she was so cool. We talked about top model and things like that. So it was fun. But by the time I saw her, I was already I had just started talking, and it's so weird, Dana. So I'm gonna tell you real quick. I'm not sure if you know much about my story, but I was shot in my head by a straight bullet, and and so I wasn't. It impacted different parts of my. It damaged different parts of my brain, and so the bullet hit my brain and shattered to the pieces. And so my vocal box was my vocal box was damaged. So I couldn't talk for 4 months, and so I was in a coma for a month and a half and all these different things. And so when I first got to um, my second, my first rehab hospital. I was in the hospital first, in my rehab hospital. I was not talking, and so,
Mhm.
well, she had me like doing different things, like humming and stuff like that, and it didn't make sense to me at the time. It's like, okay, and to my family, they named the ABC, like a piece of paper with ABCs on it. So it's not communicated, and I would point to the letters and spell it out, and I point to the paper, and then they not want to say something or whatever or spell something out, and that's how I communicated. And so I can't even remember what she even thought when I came into her office talking, like, because even when I came in talking, it wasn't like I'm talking now, but it was kind of like very like one word, like hi, what,
Mhm.
no, yeah, it's very slow. And so I wish I could remember what she said. I really do, because I can imagine. Can you imagine like when your client not talking and it's like when she talking, it's like, well, what changed? What? And
Mhm.
my voice, it just came back like that. Like I was humming the song.
Yeah.
Me and my mom watching One Sister Park, and I was humming the song that I heard going to the club one night with a couple of friends, and I was humming, humming or whatever, by my head like that or whatever. She looked at me. She was like, "Erica, you talking?" I'm like, and she said, say something. I'm like, she just said, hi, mom. I'm like, hi, mom. And she, so it came
Mhm.
out like, it was just like that. And so
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
how I started. So has it ever happened to you, a person that was nonverbal, and then, I never kind of skipping around questions, but has it ever happened to you before you had a client that wasn't talking in person and all of a sudden they talk?
Yes. Especially when I work more in acute care, right?
Okay.
Because I think, well, people who may not be as familiar with the kind of trajectory, you have
Mm-hmm.
SLP at different phases of your recovery. So you might have
Mm-hmm.
somebody you see in the hospital, acute care. You might have somebody inpatient rehab.
Mm-hmm.
Some people go to skilled nursing facilities, and then you have people who SLPs who might be in home health or outpatient
Okay.
rehab, or some that
Oh,
even do teletherapy now,
I didn't know
right?
that.
Yeah, and so I saw that a lot more when I worked in acute care because people would be coming off of their off their ventilators and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you do see it a little bit in outpatient settings, but just not as much.
Okay. Wow. So you said you had a person experience you had a person experience somebody that couldn't talk.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different reasons why somebody might not be talking. It could be
Mm-hmm.
language, loss of language, or change in language. It could be loss of speech. And so that's
Okay.
one thing that I try to explain the difference.
Okay. You can take a sip of water if you need a sip of water. I can see you kind of like.
I having a sip of water. Hold on just a second. I'm gonna go get my water.
You're fine. You're fine. Oh goodness. Thank you for watching, guys. Thank you. Hi, everybody that's watching.
You saw me struggling. It's allergies.
I know the season. Season change. The weather's just one is hot, it's cold, so I understand. I get it.
But I was saying that some people have different reasons why they're not talking.
Mhm.
And it might be speech,
Okay.
it might be language. So, like if someone's having trouble with their voice, that's more of a speech issue,
Okay.
right? But if someone can't find the word, right, or phrase or sentence or something like that, that's more language. So, it is possible for people to have speech disorders and language disorders, but it is possible for them to have either or.
Okay. I never heard broken down like that. That makes perfect sense. If you don't have to talk the speech, you can't think in a kind of way. Language. Okay. I love it. Okay.
But yeah, sometimes people will we can help people create what we call AAC, so alternative and augmentative communication support. So AAC. So
Okay.
when you say like a letter board or like a button or eye gaze or an iPad or something like that, it's called AAC, augmentative and
Okay.
alternative communication. And sometimes people just need them for a little bit until they,
Mhm.
get more recovery and then they don't need it anymore. And some people might need support for a long period of time, might be a
Mhm.
long term user. And so it just really depends on the severity, of what they have going on and just a whole bunch of other things.
Okay. That makes perfect sense. Thank you for explaining that. So, what do you find
Yeah.
most rewarding about helping those who you serve in the military who have had brain injuries or strokes?
Yeah, so I would say the progress. Like I love the outpatient setting
Mhm.
because people are sometimes returning to work,
Mhm.
returning to school. They kind of, are like, I want to get back to this. I want to try to maybe have a little role in this, maybe church, community, trying to date again. Like they're really trying to put the pieces back together so that they can improve their quality of life. Because up until that point, it might be survival, right?
Mhm.
Like when they're in acute care or inpatient rehab. And so I really like spending time with them in the outpatient setting and really thinking about what's your goals, what's important to you, what's valuable to you, who's in your circle, and then they'll make it like really life changing progress.
Mm. So I never see. I guess when your brain is affected, you don't think in depth like that. Like you don't think like, so what? Why do I want to do? You don't think about the whys. It's always what are you going to do. But when you think about the whys, kind of like, well, I don't know. I got to think about that. So when I guess when your brain is affected, I guess you don't think about the why first. You think about what you're actually doing first. So I think it's on my
Hmm.
brain first. So that's what you
Yeah,
said.
yeah. Well, sometimes
So
I think that's why we make a great team
mhm,
because the patient and the SLP they're working together, and the SLP is constantly saying, okay, how can this translate to their daily life, or
mhm,
how can this improve their quality of life? And to you, we might just be doing a task,
mhm,
but
yeah.
like, oh, we're just shopping online, or we're just
Yeah.
reading a book or talking about top model. But I'm pretty sure
Mhm.
that SLP had goals, right? And
Yes.
skills in her head, like, oh, I want to increase her, her word frequency. I want to work on her sentence structure. I want to see, can she maintain the topic, for
Mhm.
X number of minutes. Like, we're
That's
constantly
it.
thinking
I thought she
about.
was going Pastor Ty. I thought she was just me. Are we thinking that?
You never know what we're
Hmm.
doing. Sneaky,
Hmm.
sneaky.
You done told the secret now. Okay. So that's the good one. Okay. Oh, this told me something. I never heard it before. You told me something.
Well, let me ask you this. Did you ever know what your goals were in your therapies?
Ooh. Initially, no.
Okay.
Not initially, no. I mean, I just knew that I would get back to my normal life, whatever normal would, whatever it looked like. I just wanted to get back to whatever regular life was. I didn't have
Mhm.
any ambition. I didn't like I said I had ambitions, but I didn't think far enough. Like my brain wasn't thinking about you just yet. But
Mhm.
I had just literally, that was in '08. So I just literally, no, that was no '08. It was '09, I think. So I was still getting wrapping my head around some things. So that wasn't even nowhere near in my thought process at the time. So,
Yeah. And so in the past, 15, 20 years, like as we keep progressing, like I said, we're moving more towards a person-centered
yeah.
model where it's not just about, hey, do this and then, I'll be back to check on you in a minute or anything like that. It's
Mhm.
more about, no, we're gonna sit and talk about what you value. Do you see yourself ever working again? If so, where would you like to work? What skills do we need to work on so that you can work again? Like, that's the kind of stuff that we have to really sit down and talk to the patient about, right? So we can make sure that what we're doing is meaningful, right?
So, so is that what functional person centered therapy is? That's what it all entails? So is that what it mainly is? Just get more one-on-one personal time, I guess, against another patient and find out what they like. If you like something, you pay more attention to it. You wanna focus on it more. So is that what that kind of is?
Yeah, so functional means it matters, right?
Okay,
Like it's important. And person-centered means it matters to you,
that person. Okay,
right?
that person.
So let's take a task like it's a really popular task, medication management, right? For an
Okay.
example. Some SLPs might work with patients on like medication management, reading labels, or sorting their meds for the week, something like that. Sometimes occupational therapists will do this too.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a very functional task. I mean, taking meds, you need to be able to take your
Yeah.
meds right. You need to be able to know about your meds. But let's say it's somebody who is not responsible for their medications. Let's say that they never even see the medication. They never even, like, they don't want to see it. Somebody else is responsible for bringing them their medicine every day. Then that's
Mm-hmm.
not really a person-centered task anymore, because why are we spending time in a session doing that when in real life they're never going to use this skill? They don't
Right.
need to know how to do this. Now, if it's something they're like, no, I want to get back to doing this, it's important for my independence to get back to doing this, then yes, now this is a functional and person centered task.
Okay, I can dig it. I mean, perfect sense. Perfect sense. I love it. So, what's one functional therapy tip that you found useful that you use for, I guess, majority of your clients, or I don't know, what's popular for most of your clients that you use?
So, because of the set I work in, I work with a lot of higher functioning people. Like my patients are
Mhm.
normally working or like
Okay.
near retirement, or maybe they're working in their light duty, or they have like certain working part time or something like that. And I ask people to bring stuff from home or work. I'll
Hmm.
say, what are some tasks that you have to be able to do at work? What are some things that you got to be able to do at home? And they'll describe it to me, and I'll say, oh, okay, I want you to bring XYZ in then from work. Or like if somebody's taking a college class or something, they're like, yeah, I have to sit and look at these lectures and do this module and da da da. I'll say, oh, okay, well, bring in your laptop next time,
Okay.
because I what we're working on is skills. Like we're working
Okay.
on skills. And because we're working on skills, it really doesn't matter the activity as long as it's a functional activity, a person centered activity. So if I need you to be able to read better, right? I'm not going to just give you a worksheet on or paragraph on polar bears or something like that. Say, okay, today we're going to read about polar bears. Like that doesn't relate to your life,
Yeah.
So instead, you might need to read a discussion board post or a chapter out of your new textbook or something like that. So we want to use the kind of materials that you're going to be faced with on a day-to-day basis. That's how skills carry over.
Gotcha. And so I think I saw a post you made a reel where you were going to the store. So it was a a cookbook or something. So I guess you assume you had a patient or client with that's a cooker or whatever. So something
Mhm.
that they're engaged in already that they can like, oh, okay, yeah, well, it's X, Y, Z, so that makes sense. So it's not boring to them. They'll be
Yeah,
more engaged. So
yeah,
I
yeah.
love it.
But again, like that's only for my patients who either cook, like to
Mm-hmm.
cook, want to
Yeah.
cook, or they really like food. Maybe they're a foodie or something like that. But like if somebody was like, for someone who it could have easily not been person centered,
Mm-hmm.
depending on the patient, you know.
Okay.
So I like to have a variety of books available. I got magazines, I got fashion,
Mm-hmm.
stuff, I got stuff on jewelry making, I got things on fishing, woodworking, because you got to tap into the interest of the patient.
That's true. I love that. Hmm. I wish I do the other speech stuff. I'm like, yeah, this is so cool. It's so cool. Oh, switching gears a little bit. Since you know about neurological disorders, how is our brains connected to our speech?
So remember, I was telling you speech and language are different,
Right.
right? So we have language centers in our brain, and we also have centers in our brain that's responsible for helping our mouth, body parts, articulators move the way they're supposed to produce speech. So depending on someone's type of injury, there could be structural damage to
Mhm.
certain centers of the brain. There might be inflammation, and things might be slower than normal. Like there's a lot of different injuries that can have a lot of different effects on certain parts of the brain because we need our brain functioning, it
Yeah.
really working together. So for
Yeah.
me to even talk right now and say a word, think about
Mhm.
everything that has to be happening in my brain. I
Yeah.
have to plan what I'm going to say, think of the words, think of the order of the words, tell my brain, hey, brain, make the tongue go here, make the lips
Mhm.
go here. I have to
Mhm.
listen and see if I said it right. If I didn't say it right, I need to say it again. So that's a lot of
You put
work for the
that going on. You work it out like that. There's a lot going on. Yes, it is. And so we can talk about your careers a little bit, your lives that you do. So what can educate and entertain people to know more about speech language pathology?
So a lot of people think that SLPs are kind of boring, which I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
get, like I said previously, we've been known to be a little boring sometimes. but, but I, during the pandemic, I had moved to a new location. I didn't know anybody. I didn't have a lot of I never really had a lot of SLP friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I started doing telehealth, teletherapy, and I was looking for online resources like other people and other resources to kind of connect with. And I found a whole bunch of pediatric SLPs, SLPs
Mm-hmm.
that work in schools, SLPs that work with kids, but I was having trouble finding people like me that worked, in adult neurorehabilitation. And so I just decided to create what I wish existed. And as I did, I started to see that there were more SLPs in my specialty area, but maybe they didn't have these like colorful, big pages and stuff like that. But there's been a huge increase of them since the pandemic. And people are learning to share ideas, work together,
I love
meet up and different things like that. So I just was like, well, how can I, increase awareness of our field, share ideas with people, inspire people. And then I was like, videos, social media, people like to laugh, people like readable
it.
content. And so I was like, I'm going to try to put valuable information, but in like a funny way. Yeah, funny or cool way. And
Yeah,
it's actually been well received, which I'm grateful for because it helps me, like I said, be creative and tap into my creative side. And then people actually learn things in the process.
yes they do. I love seeing your videos. I be cracking up like, oh, I like that. So just me something to think about. So I love your videos. I'm always entertained by them. So switching
Thank you
gears,
for watching.
no, you're welcome, you're welcome. Switching gears a little bit. So you talked about your blog post. Is your blog post have a certain name to it, or is it just your main website? What it is, your main website?
It's my main website. So it's just an extension of my main website. So if people go to www.theneuroslp.com, there'll be different tabs. And if they click on the tab blogs, and they'll see some articles. I just literally had a guest blogger for Hispanic Heritage Month do
Oh,
one. And so it went live yesterday, but it started, she explained how we're responsible for respecting people's culture and thinking about things like their diet, what they eat, what music they
yeah.
listen to, everything like that. And so it's a really good one. Her name is Jackie Rodriguez, and she did a wonderful job. So yeah, I'm excited to maybe have more guest bloggers come on
Yeah,
and share valuable information.
I love it. I have to read on it. Have to read the article. I love
Yeah.
it. So, for those who don't know, you visit the www the SL the neuroslp.com to read about the blog post we're talking about, and so you can find it there. But well, so many other cool things there as well. And so, for those who don't know, what are soap notes? I saw that when I was just playing the website. Like, soap, what is that? What are soap
Yeah.
notes?
Yeah, so a SOAP note is something that a therapist or sometimes even doctors or nurses will do SOAP notes. So it's a healthcare professional, and
Okay.
they write basically a summary of your visit, like what happened. So 9 times out of 10, when you were going into these sessions, the provider was writing a SOAP note to
Hmm.
document what happened. And so SOAP note is a acronym. So SOAP stands for a subjective section, objective section, an assessment, and a plan. So let's say you come to see me for a therapy visit. When you come in my office and we do our thing, and you leave, and then probably either at the end of the day or right after you leave. Or maybe the next day, depending on time. But I'm gonna type it down and type what happened, and I might say, okay, here's my S section. In my
Okay.
S section, I'm going to put Erica was, energetic today. She was ready to work. She was cooperative. She was accompanied by her sister, or whatever. She was late. She was early. She was whatever. So I'm going to put all the like subjective stuff like in the S section. In the O section,
Okay.
that's where your goals are. So I'm going to put things that we worked on. Like I might say, hey, we did she has a reading comprehension goal or a naming goal. We worked on that. She got 80% accuracy on this, or she only needed, 4 cues to do this a little bit better, or whatever. And then in the A section, that's when I actually do my assessment and I say, like, how are you doing? Like, was
Mhm.
this a good session for us? Are you making progress? Are you regressing? Are you staying the
Mhm.
same? So I might say, oh, Erica is benefiting from these type cues. She's
Mhm.
able to carry over skills and do it this way. She even is able to do it this way. Oh, but she could get a little bit better with blank, blank, blank. And then in
Okay.
the P section, which is the plan, I'm going to put what the heck are you gonna do next? Is she gonna keep coming back to see me? Am I gonna discharge her? Do I need to
Mhm.
add more visits? Does she need blank, blank, blank? So that's what a SOAP note. It's just a documentation, a note of what happened in the therapy session, and that goes in your medical chart.
So that determines if a person gets extended or not for a certain kind of care, or extended for the care that you're providing when you do the soap
So,
notes. Okay.
so some insurance companies will look at SOAP notes. Some insurance companies will look at evaluations, like when
Mhm.
you first got there. Sometimes you might have to do depending on the setting, it just depends on the setting. Sometimes you might have to do like a plan of care, which is kind of like a more intense soap note, but it's kind of like a progress report, kind of like what you used to
Yeah.
get in school, like a report card kind of thing.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so it just depends on the setting, but insurance needs to see that you're working towards progress and that they should keep paying for you to come, because
Right.
insurance companies don't want to pay if you're not, yeah, if you're not
Real
making,
life.
they start asking all kind of crazy questions.
I'm not about the insurance. I'm not about that world. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's something else. So let's switch gears again. So let's talk about your digital products. What made you want to create digital products? Like when people are saying, "Hi, how do you do X, Y, Z?" Or you say, "Oh, I need to create this stuff." So is that how it began, or how did it begin for you doing that?
You're spot on. Like there were so many people that was like, "Oh, okay, I get it. I need to be more functional and person centered." But then they would
Mhm.
come, call me or text me or DM me and be like, "How do I become more functional and person centered? How am I supposed to do this?" Or they'll say, "Hey, I had to use my workbooks today because I couldn't think of anything," or something like. And I said, okay. So I was giving people all these ideas, and I finally was like, you know what? Maybe I should just package up some ideas. And it's not to say that everything I have in my store is going to be for every patient, but at least it could be a start or
Mhm.
inspire you to kind of
Yeah.
create your own functional and person centered activity. So I have some digital downloads. There's some things to get people started, kind of to get them in the habit of not using the board games and the playing cards and the worksheets. But yeah, hopefully it inspires them to create their own eventually.
I think it's so cool. I love it. I love people create their own. It's like, huh, you first person think about it. So I love the creativity behind your videos and your products. I just love it. It's so
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
So what
thank
can and you're very welcome. You're very welcome. And so going to your consulting, your one-on-one consulting people. So when you're what can people expect when they're doing a one-on-one consultation with you? Consultation with you.
you. Yeah, so same thing with people. who were like, I'm having trouble, with functional and person-centered therapy, or I'm having trouble coming up with homework ideas for my patients, or I don't know how to do motivational interviewing. Motivational interviewing is kind of what you do in the beginning when you get to know the patient. You figure out what's important to you, what motivates you, what kind of things need to be at the top of our priority list while we're working together. And so some SLPs may not feel as confident in doing these things. Maybe they've switched settings, switched from kids to adults. Maybe they've switched from, the hospital setting to like an ICU setting to like outpatient. Yeah. Or maybe they just didn't have a program in school that really, really thoroughly explains some of this stuff. And you got to think a lot of the research that we have about this kind of stuff is really new. So if they were in school 15, 20, 30 years ago, they haven't heard about this stuff unless they're taking like, updated continuing education stuff. And so I have one-on-one coaching for that reason. So people can kind of come in and we talk through their strengths and weaknesses, and we talk through their caseload. We kind of figure out what their therapy style is, how they can be more creative, tap into their creativity, all that kind of stuff. So I've helped dozens of SLPs so far, and it's just been a blessing because I feel like not only am I helping them enjoy their job more, but I'm actually like able to help them help their patients better. So it's just like a ripple effect.
That's what I love that. It give to keep on giving, right? It give to keep on giving. So
Yeah.
outside of speech therapy life, what do you do for fun? Like what does Miss Dana do for fun?
So I was trying to see. I don't think my yoga mat is in the views down here, but I try to do yoga sometimes.
Okay.
Um, I used I used to have way more free time before I started the business. I used to read a lot. I used to be in a book club. Before COVID, I was traveling a lot. I just haven't been since COVID, but that's pretty much it. I'm pretty a low key person. I know some of my followers on Instagram think I'm so extroverted, and I'm like, if y'all only knew, like when I close this computer, like I'm in the bed in my PJs watching Netflix. Like I don't really do
So
as much as people probably think I do.
I'm the same way. I'm an introvert at heart, but I do. I say I'm an introvert, but extrovert things. That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Introvert, do extrovert type things. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm an introvert myself. So I get you, man, wholeheartedly. I agree with you. So
Yeah.
there's a couple more questions.
Yeah.
Two more questions. Um, what does creating awareness and being an example for people of color, women or men of color, in a speech therapy space means for you?
It means everything. It means everything. I mean, like I said, we need more people of color in the
Yes.
healthcare field, especially in the allied health field, which is like those supportive occupations like respiratory therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy. Like we need more people of color, and I think it's gonna take us to hold us accountable too,
Mm-hmm.
because there are a lot of Black people, in my family included, that don't know what what the SLP is, how a SLP can help, and they may even trust SLPs, right? To invite them in their home and work with their grandmother who's in the back room. Like we have this culture sometimes a lot, especially with people who have had strokes. Like, oh, they're just get
Mm-hmm.
older. People have strokes. It's just the way they are. They'll never talk again. But science
Mm-hmm.
has come a long way, and we actually can help people in a lot of different ways that we couldn't before. And so I want to kind of change the narrative of just keeping somebody in the back room and thinking they'll never get better. Because what if they
Yes.
do? What if they could? It's worth at
Yeah.
least an evaluation. And I think it's gonna, like I said, if it comes from us, sometimes it might be received differently than if
Absolutely.
comes from somebody else of another demographic.
Yes, I agree. We have a couple comments. We have Marcus said that's great. I don't know what this said. I enjoy this. Thank you. Jesus Benitez said chiropractic. I'm not sure what he's talking about. Chiropractic. I'm not sure what that means. But thank y'all for your comments. What chiropractic? What is it that talking about chiropractic? I guess what you were talking about. I guess what you're probably referring to. But
Okay. Oh yeah,
I'm not sure.
maybe considering that as like a career too.
Okay. Yeah,
Maybe.
okay. That makes sense. Okay. I got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, last question. What's next for Dana? What's next for Dana? What you got going on?
So many things. Okay. So I definitely want to keep, growing my Instagram community. I think a lot of people have found value in it. I've gotten a lot of great testimonials about how it's really made them think. For
Mm-hmm.
people who were about to leave the field altogether because they felt like they were burnt out or they were bored or their patients weren't making progress. And then now all of a sudden they're like, I think I'm gonna stay around. So I want to keep the page
Yeah.
up, keep it going. But again, I want to kind of do more outreach. So speaking events like this, I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
speaking at some conferences over the next few months. I'll be speaking in New Orleans and Memphis, to
Oh,
other
what's
SLP.
busy? What's
Yeah.
busy? Come on.
So I want to create more awareness, more energy, excitement around our field, adult neuro in particular. And then, like I said, I want to inspire more people of color to in this field. So hopefully, speaking at some schools or
Yeah.
trying to get people early, so before they
Mhm.
even go to college, they can consider this as a career.
Yes. And I when I was back with pre-COVID, me and my cousin, we were due. Oh well, God gave me this idea to go to schools and talk. When I was in school, I don't remember seeing people who look like me, young like me, come and talk to me about different things that wasn't like a older person or did it in a separate profession. So I'm like, okay, I thought those different things. So I want to inspire kids. So I was talking to middle schoolers because to me, middle schools are right before they go to high school, so they're kind of still being molded. Not like I know it already. They're not like so we can say that. I still want to learn something new. So I tag team my cousin who's an actor. So I'm going to make a fun for kids. Like, okay, actor, then I do directing and stuff like this. So it's like we can make a fun for kids. And so that's what I did too. So again, I didn't nobody told me to do this, but I just did it like off the bat. Just I reached out to schools, like, hey, can I come talk to your students? And that's all happened. So I think it's very imperative that the kids see people like us, see people like themselves, that not just older people, old people, no offense to old people, but I'm just saying, like, you want to see people young and, excited to do certain things. It's like,
Yeah,
there's no
yeah,
same thing we're doing. So it's
yeah.
very
It
important.
makes
So
it more relatable. It definitely makes a
it
difference.
does.
Yeah, I'll
It
tell you
does.
something real quick before we go. I know another part of this, me kind of evolving as SLP, was learning how to be more comfortable in my own skin. And I think that that's
Mm.
really important because you get trained and taught like you need to speak this way, and act this way, and dress this
Yeah.
way, and do this. And I know there is a culture of like being professional, but I actually feel
Mhm.
like I have connected more with my patients when I've, expressed a little bit of my style and personality. So whether it be coming in and wearing some funky, nail colors or some Air Max, or like using something, a term that's, in Alabama, like teaching them a new Alabama slang. So I
Yeah.
think that there's some vulnerability, there's some authenticity that can be released by a lot of SLPs so that people don't think that we're uptight. We need to be looked at as approachable. If you think about it, you probably spend more time with your therapist than you ever do with your doctor or your nurse.
That's right.
So you might tell them things that you never told your doctor or nurse.
Yeah.
And so your
Yeah.
SLP can kind of be a good advocate for you or a
Yeah.
good intermediate person, but we gotta let loose and still be professional, but
Mhm.
still express that we're human too.
create a safe space. Absolutely.
Yep,
Absolutely. I definitely agree with
absolutely.
that. I definitely agree with that. Well, thank you so much again. I so appreciate the interview. I learned so much, and I'm just like, man, it was so informative. And I love it. I think it's going to take your time out of your busy schedule to do this interview with me in some form, inspire, educate those who are in the speech therapy space already, and those who are not, and maybe interested. Like, I think I do, but I'm not sure. I don't know. A lot of people are on physical stuff, so people need to make a decision. I believe you help them make a decision today. Like, make it sound so cool, and so you do. You make the speech therapy feel sound so fun. Like, I
Yeah.
really appreciate it, and really appreciate this. So, I wish you an abundance of blessings and favor to digital products, and all your endeavors, everything you're doing. Pray God blesses
I
and prospers.
appreciate
So,
that. Thank you. Thank you.
yes,
Thank you so much, Erica. And thank you for having me. And thank you for allowing this safe space and creating this wonderful community, for patients. I think this is so important.
thank you so much. Well, let me know it's connected to you and how they follow you, how they follow you on your social media platforms.
Yeah, so again, they can go to www.theneuroslp.com. A lot of most of all my information is there. But if they want to connect with me on social media, then it's at the.neuro.slp. And yeah, I mean, I check emails, I check DMs, so I feel like I'm pretty approachable. So
Okay. I love that. So, yeah, thank you again. Thank you everyone for tuning in for listening today in the speech therapist life and journey. You can connect with me on Instagram at the period in neuro period SLP. If you're a student looking to be I'm sorry, a speech therapist, follow her and be sure to check her website out. It's on the screen, theneuroslp.com, and see her check our digital products, which you can glean from her. Because we're all inspired by different things. So you don't have to copy, but you can definitely be inspired by it. We have blog posts that we were talking about earlier. Again, the website is theneuroslp.com. So thank y'all for joining me today for this episode. Hope you enjoyed me and Dana. I enjoyed talking with her and having this conversation. And our speech therapy her on her endeavors. Remember, you can connect with me on Instagram at Erica R. Walker 878 and on YouTube Erica Renee Walker. And so TBI Uncovered Season 3 will resume, not next week, guys. Listen carefully, not next week, but we'll resume October 27th and 28th. Two part episode. I'm interviewing another medical professional who's a lifesaver, and it's going to be impactful. So you're going to definitely tune in for that. Well, all that's all I have for now, you guys. So Erica Renee, remember, we all have a story, and you too connect the world with yours. So that's all for now. See y'all later. Bye.